Hello YouTube, my name is rhianaB and welcome to the last review of Survivor Game Changers. So we have a lot to cover since it was the season finale and we finally have crowned our winner. But before we get to that, let's start at the very beginning. We had a little bit of a moment between Sarah and Cirie because they were basically battling over the advantage not being played, and that Sarah had given Cirie the advantage, and Sarah was mad that she tried to play it and called Sarah a rat, and they had their own little spat. And then Ty gets into the mix when it was brought out that Ty has been doing all these lies and been kind of doing things behind people's backs. He didn't see it that way, but it was just like kind of a big chaos situation once Tribal Council was over from the last episode. We also had a little moment between Ty and Brad when Ty decides to tell Brad about his two hidden immunity idols. I don't know if I would have gone to Brad Culpepper to do this, but in Ty's situation, when Cirie and Sarah are not really willing to work with him, Aubrey's really the only one who would work with Ty, and you know, that's basically it besides Brad and Troyzan, and I guess Ty saw a potential ally in Brad and confided in him about it, but Brad is very ruthless. He can have a very ruthless personality, and I don't know if that's the right person to tell about idols, but he did, and further down the line, it kind of got turned against him, but we'll get to that in a second. So we had our first immunity challenge, and Brad wins immunity, and it was also a reward, and he took Troyzan and Sarah on the reward of spaghetti, garlic bread, wine, all that sort of stuff. And the chopping block for that tribal council, it was mostly between Ty and Aubrey. Ty having a lot of bad baggage on him because he has been lying a lot. Aubrey just because she's a very smart player and she could talk her way into winning the $1 million if she got to the end. And this is when Brad takes advantage of Ty's information about him having the hidden immunity idols, and basically, I mean, I can't even like exaggerate what it was. It was legit bullying that Brad was doing, telling him, if you do not give me that idol, you're gonna go down. And that may not the way he had said it, but you can't help but, you know, put subtext into that. I just don't agree with bullying, you know, even in a game that can be very ruthless and people will do things that they probably would never do in their ordinary lives to get to the end. I don't believe in bullying other contestants to get your way. I don't believe in that. I don't support that. And I was not happy when Brad was doing that to Ty. Although I'm not the biggest Ty fan, to me, it doesn't matter. You should never talk down to another person in that regard. So that made me very upset. Smart on Ty, though. He did not give him the hidden immunity idols. He just said to him, you know what, I gotta think about this. I gotta figure out what I need to do. And that was a smart move on Ty. So we get the tribal council, and this was probably one of the craziest tribal councils, probably in the history of Survivor. Out of all 34 seasons, soon to be 35, out of all tribal councils, this was probably the craziest one that has ever happened. And I have seen most, if not all, of the tribal councils in Survivor history. And I literally was just like sitting there and I'm like, oh my god, like one after another, just things are happening everywhere, and I'm like, ah! So first we had Ty not only play a hidden immunity idol for himself, but he ended up giving his other idol to Aubrey, and then Sarah gets up and plays her legacy advantage that Sierra had given to her, because it could only have been used at top 6. She uses that to save herself, and then Troyzan finally uses his immunity idol, which he's had since like the first or second episode, finally uses it, which basically leaves poor Cirie without anything to do. So the first time in Survivor history, someone had been voted out without getting any votes toward their way. It's just the circumstance being that she did not have an idol, everyone else has an idol, and then Brad obviously had won immunity from the challenge. She's the only one left. There's no other option. Cirie was the odd man out, and she ends up going to the jury. I gotta say, I love Cirie. I've loved her since Exile Island, and I've always been a fan of Cirie. And although it sucked that she went out that way, not going out swinging, I should say, she just kind of was a victim of circumstance. I gotta say, that is a badass way to leave the game of Survivor, especially for someone like Suri, who's played 4 times, and she's a very respectable player, and a lot of people love her. I mean, I gave her some applause, from home, and I just thought that was such a badass way to leave the game, and I think she should be proud of the way she's played her game, not just in this season, but all the other times she's played Survivor. I think she's a graceful player, and she plays well. I just love Suri. So, although it was sad to see her leave in that circumstance, I think it was an amazing way to leave, and the way to end her legacy on Survivor. So then we move on to part 2, and we go straight to the immunity challenge. Lo and behold, Brad wins again, making this his 4th individual immunity win. So he's like up there with oh god, I don't even remember. But there's been a lot of players who've won 4 individual immunity. I can't rank them all, and I can't name some off the top of my head right now. But he's in that group. And the chopping block, really, the main person is Aubrey, but there was talk about maybe getting Troyzan out. So when we get back to camp, Brad is obviously so overconfident because he has won a lot of individual immunities that he feels like he's on top of the world and that he's ruling the entire game. He even says himself that he could beat anybody. And that level of confidence, it's never a good thing. It's never a good thing in Survivor to be overly confident. And I know I've said this before in past episodes, but it is just not a smart thing to do because anything can happen. We just saw last night, anything can happen to anybody. So being overly confident just does not help your case. No matter how many times you win individual challenges and all that sort of stuff, you always have to be humble and think about stuff like that, or you're gonna get brought down way, way fast. And also, in a way to try to save herself, Aubrey does say, you know what, if you get me out, and she says this to Sarah and Ty, if you get me out, and Brad wins the next immunity, then automatically he's taking Troyzan because he thinks he can beat him, and it's basically 50-50 between the two of you. And I thought that was a very valid point, and I thought they should have followed it, but nope, got to Tribal, and yes, Aubrey did go home. And I was very upset because she was the main person out of the top 6 that I really wanted to win. I like Aubrey a lot, so it was so sad to see her go. I wasn't too happy. But we're moving on again to our final immunity challenge of Game Changers, and good lord, Brad wins again, which means that he is up in the higher echelon of players who have won 5 individual hidden immunities, which Ozzy is a part of. I think Colby Donaldson from Outback is on that list as well. I don't remember who else is in there, but I do know of Colby and Ozzy. So Brad is up there now. And again, the overconfidence thing. He kind of just comes back and flaunts himself and thinks he can do anything. And then again, he goes kind of babbling to Ty and wanting to do something with Ty. And again, he belittles and brings him down. And again, I feel so bad for Ty because he's at the mercy of this when he really didn't need to be. So we have this main conversation between Sarah and Ty because they basically know it's going to be between the two of them. So what's the thing here? Do either one of them want to get the other person out, or do they want to force a tie and we'll have a fire-making challenge? Which has happened many times in Survivor history, but we get to Tribal and Sarah ends up voting for Ty to get him out, and Ty is the last member of our jury at number 10. And that leaves us with our top 3, and that is Brad Culpepper, Sarah, and Troyzan. I gotta say, again, like I said last episode about the top 6, did not expect for our top 3 to be what it is. I did not expect, well, okay, halfway through I did kind of see Sarah possibly being in the final 3, but Brad and Troyzan? No way did I think they were going to make it to the end. But kudos to them, they made it to top 3, and then we move on to final Tribal Council. So how it normally goes for Tribal Council. Usually the top 3 will give an opening statement saying, I deserve the $1 million, I deserve your vote, yada yada yada. And then it's opened up to the jury. And one by one, members of the jury will come up and ask however many questions they need to or make statements and until that's all done, and then they have a closing argument. But this time, things got changed up. Instead of doing one-on-one jury members asking questions, it was an open jury, which means anyone from the jury could come in and say whatever they wanted to say to get a certain opinion from either one or multiple players, and someone else could either defend, rebut, or join in, or do whatever they need to get their point across. And it also focused on the 3 aspects of Survivor. Outwit, which is about social gameplay. Outplay, which was more about conditioning of the environment and adaptation to the environment around you. And then Outlast. At the end of the day, did they put the right people on the jury to give them $1 million? And I gotta say, I like this open jury setup. I kind of want them to do this more often. Like, I did like the original Tribal Council route. I do like the one-on-one questions. I do like that. But the whole idea of an open jury, especially in a season like this with all veteran players, I love it. Like, it was so cool to be able to see people, like, talk about a certain thing and they can join in or they can rebut a statement. I found that to be very intriguing and really, really enjoyable to watch and to get more information from. And I did think in that moment it helped jury members make real, in-the-spot decisions about who they thought deserved to win the game. So, Survivor, if you ever see this, I don't know if you ever will, but if you ever do watch this, I definitely say keep the open jury option out there. Do more of it. Maybe do I don't know, like every other season do an open jury. I love that format, so do it more often. It's really, really good. So finally, votes are cast, and we have a winner.
The winner of Survivor Game Changers, Sarah.
Yes, and our sole survivor is Sarah. Sarah ends up winning Survivor Game Changers, the $1 million prize, and the title of sole survivor. And I gotta say, I am very happy with Sarah winning. I was a little worried because Brad did get 3 votes. I was a little worried that Brad was gonna win, and if that were the case, I was not gonna be too happy about it. But I thought Sarah played one of the better games in this season. She was able to play middle ground so much, and I don't think that's really something that happens very often anymore, but she played like double agent, she played in the middle field a lot, and she swayed a lot of votes to go her way because she was in the middle. And she went undetected for quite a long time, and by the time people caught on to it, it was kind of too late. Either that or there was a bigger threat instead of Sarah. She not only persuaded Sierra to give her the legacy advantage, but she was also able to trick Suri into using her other advantage. And that takes a lot of social gameplay there. She was able to talk to multiple people, she was able to manipulate, outwit, quote unquote. And at the end of the day, I am very happy that Sarah won Survivor Game Changers, and I thought she really did deserve it. I thought she played one of the better games. She definitely did deserve to win. So I do want to talk quickly about this little moment that happened during the reunion when Jeff said, you know, I get asked this all the time, what would happen if there were a tie at the final? And this blew my mind. I never even thought about this before because I just thought there's no way there could ever be a tie at the final. It's never happened before. I don't know if it'll ever happen at all. But in the case of a tie, so say for example, if Brad and Sarah had tie votes, because Troyzan never got any votes, if that were the case, Troyzan would then join the jury and he would make the deciding vote as to who would win. I mean, mind blown. That is like, I never thought about that before. And I kind of want to see it happen. Now that he brought it up, I kind of want to see what would happen if there would be a tie. Because that would be so cool. The fact that if there's a top 3, the person who didn't get any votes or got the least amount of votes goes to the jury and makes the final decision. That's so cool. I want to see it happen. I don't know if it ever will happen, but I want to see it. And finally, we are going to talk about season 35 of Survivor. Yes, we have an upcoming season again. And I gotta say, interesting concept this time. So first, we're going back to Fiji. So the last two seasons they were shot in Fiji, and we're going back to Fiji again. And this is the interesting part. It's Survivor, heroes versus healers versus hustlers. Now, I gotta say, when I first started watching the preview of next season, I thought they were gonna do another heroes versus villains, and then they started bringing up the healers and the hustlers. And at first, I was a little confused. I'm like, what does a healer or a hustler have to do with Survivor? But honestly, I think what I like about the next season coming up is that it will bring different walks of life into the game. And I think that that's one of the best things about Survivor, is that you get like people on total opposite spectrums competing for $1 million. So I think that this is going to be a very interesting season. I kind of want to see what's going to happen. Are we going to have some possible crossovers with certain people? Like, will a healer be a hustler, or will a hustler be a hero? Vice versa, however you want to combine it all. I'm very excited for what next season has to show, but I gotta say, it's got a lot to live up to, because this season was absolutely crazy. In the best way possible. In Survivor terms, crazy is good. So I guess to end my last review, I gotta say, this season was fantastic. I loved this season so much. Although I didn't get the outcome I really wanted, it was still so much fun to watch. So many crazy tribal councils, crazy blindsides. A lot of popular players went home very early, including Sandra, who was finally dethroned this season. And we even had a couple personal moments with Debbie and her breakdown, and especially the incident with Zeke and Jeff at that very infamous tribal council, which for me was a very personal video to talk about. But all in all, this season was absolutely incredible. It was a lot of fun, craziness, all of the good things that Survivor has to offer. And I am so grateful that I got a chance to review this series for you guys, and I hope you enjoyed it, because if you do, I will very happily continue with my Survivor reviews. I like doing them. I like getting in depth with episodes and giving my opinion on the matter. It's just a lot of fun talking about one of my favorite shows, and a show that I've been watching since I was 6 years old. And I'm so happy to be semi a part of the Survivor experience and talking about it. So I hope you guys liked my reviews, and I hope that I can do more for you. I would love to keep doing them as long as you give me the support. So, on that note, I'm going to end the video here. If you guys like it, please give it a thumbs up. Leave me comments down below. What did you think of the season finale of Survivor Game Changers? Were you happy with our winner, Sarah? And what do you expect from next season? Just leave me those comments. I would love to read them. And if you want to see my future videos or videos I've already done, go ahead, hit subscribe, and hit the little bell icon so you can be notified when my videos come out. That's all I have for you guys today. And until the next video, bye! Mwah.